What's up guys, welcome back to the channel. My name is Ryan, and this year I was able to quit my job as an engineer to go full-time as an entrepreneur. This channel is my version of documenting the journey, and today we're going to be breaking down balloons in creative finance. Hot topic, especially when you're new. A lot of people start using balloons to try and kind of get the deal, close the deal, whatever it may be. But today I'm going to talk about why balloons in subject to deals are completely unnecessary, and you should never have them. We did 20 sub 2 deals in the last 6 months, and we have had 0 balloons because we understand this concept, and we learned it, of course, from people like Pace and other people that were doing subject to deals. But I want to talk about why they're unnecessary, how to overcome that objection, because you also shouldn't have balloons on your subject to deals because nobody wants that crap. Okay, so let's talk about it. We're going to be breaking down this call that I had on a deal in Atlanta. You're going to hear them bring up the balloon, and then you're going to hear me break down why it's unnecessary and actually walk them through that process to the point where they said, okay, no need for a balloon. And I actually talked to somebody after this deal where they said, you know what, we tried to get that deal, but we just couldn't get them to not do a balloon. We just couldn't get them to figure out that that concept was unnecessary. So I thought it was pretty cool that I was able to come in, not only get rid of the balloon, but also that I'm going to be able to break that down for you. So let's check out that video and then we'll talk about it.
How about the length of this contract? Is it? I mentioned to you the other day that Letitia is willing to do the 10 years, but then Anthony, his max is 7 years. So where are we? Where are we on that?
Yeah. So remember we talked about. I think one of you guys was, your idea is that you want to get out of the mortgage and be able to go buy another house. But actually, how that works is that when we take this over, which you can do a year from now. So after 12 months of us owning the home, you can show receipts that you're not the one responsible for the mortgage, and they'll actually take that off of what's called your debt to income ratio, which is what they would look at for you to get another house. And so, that will not stop you from getting another house. Now, of course, you still have to qualify for a mortgage, right? So that's a separate thing. But having this house with the mortgage staying in place isn't going to have any effect on you guys going and getting another house. Okay, so this is a very important distinction to make because there's a huge difference between somebody not qualifying due to a subject to purchase and not qualifying in general, right? What I'm doing is relaying information related specifically to this purchase and not whether or not they're going to go blow up their credit or buy a bunch of cars or whatever in the future. So I'm not guaranteeing them anything when it comes to getting a new house. I'm simply stating very clearly this transaction will not be the thing keeping you from getting a house a year from now.
So not to cut you off, I understand that part. They're going to look at the debt to income ratio and then see that we're not paying the mortgage. So I understand that part. But right now, our concern right now is that we are separated. So in going through all our options and stuff like that, Anthony does not mind for the first half of the term to be on the loan itself. But I just want to make sure any agreement we make with you, since the loan and the mortgage is actually still in our names, if Anthony says, you know what, I want to come off this loan and leave it to just you, Letitia, and the bank is like, yeah, she can afford, technically, quote unquote, she can be the only one remaining on the loan. We want to make sure that doesn't mess up anything we have in place for you. If Anthony in total wants to be like, I just want to come, I don't want nothing to do with you, Letitia, anymore. You know what I mean? Or something like that. And I just want to come off the loan and I just carry out the rest of the term with you guys. I just want to make sure, since there's nothing in place that stops him from doing something like that.
Yeah, so once the loan is serviced, you guys have no involvement with the loan whatsoever. Most people that we work with don't know it exists. So there wouldn't be any altering of the loan at any point, or else that would obviously just jeopardize the purchase of the property. But once it gets serviced, if you guys want, you can even actually receive separate notices when payments are made. A lot of people would prefer not to get those, but you can. So you guys can do that if you would like, just, for peace of mind. But yeah, it just stays for the length of the loan. Once it gets serviced, you guys have no involvement with it. You want to shut down this crazy talk right away. We don't need to be dealing with people moving their names around on a loan or anything for no reason, just because they don't like each other, right? What you want to do, especially in a divorce situation like this, which is usually a little bit tougher, is give them routes where they can each be notified separately, where things can kind of be done separately. Really emphasize the fact that they don't have to do it together just because their names are on there. We can kind of handle that stuff separately, split stuff up, all that to make them feel a little bit more comfortable.
I just wanted to know if we were going to know who that third party was, and if we were going to have any kind of record of those payments going to be made.
Yeah. So you guys being the sellers, obviously, you guys tell us what you want, right? So like I said, some people say, hey, I don't want to know that this exists. Some people want, to get receipts every month. So whatever you guys are wanting, we just need to have that communicated, and then we'll make sure that our transaction team, handles that. And obviously, stuff like that's not a big deal, right? If you change your mind and you don't want to know anymore, just let them know. That's fine. But yeah, that's totally up to you guys.
How long is the length of this? Is it our agreement with you guys, like in 10 years or what? What's your length? Because that's not communicated in the contract.
Yeah, it's just, we're purchasing the property. So in general, usually the average hold time for an investment property for us would be 5 to 7 years. But we can't guarantee that. So it can last the length of the loan term.
So basically, I can have this mortgage in my name for the next 30 years if you choose not to end it in 5 to 7 years.
Right, or whatever. I don't know how many years it has left. I think 28 or 29, right? But yes.
Okay. Yeah, that's our only.
All right, so you can hear the hesitation in her voice, right? She's like, 30 years? We're going to be on this thing for 30 years? That sounds terrible, right? Classic thing to come up. That's why people bring up balloons in the first place. So what you need to do in the situation is dig deeper. And you're going to see right here, as I dig a little deeper, I ask the questions, well, what are you actually worried about? Like, what is the concern here? Because past just the mental thought of having it in your name, is there something you're worried about? What's the root problem, so that we can dig a little bit deeper and try and solve that instead of just playing games? Yeah, so tell me about that. So what do you think would be, like, what is your fear with that, I guess?
I just thought there was, obviously, loan rates are going to change. It's not going to be, 7.5 forever. So we wanted to, as a couple separating, we were good with, okay, this is something that we would, in conjunction, deal with for the next 7 to 10 years. And at that point, the investment company would buy the property, because obviously it's not going to, the main thing is because as an investment company, you guys are not going to, our rate is better than the rate that you would get,
Yep.
We understand that portion, but in the next 7 to 10 years, even 5 years, it's not going to be that high again. It may even dip, back to where we got it at for 5% or the 5.5%. So we want you guys, or we wanted the investment company at that point to be like, you know what, it's a better option for us. The interest rate has dropped, and now we're going to take this loan out of your name, and we're going to fully take this over. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's totally possible that'll happen, but there's absolutely no way to predict what the market's going to do. So there's, you're right, it could go down, it could also triple. There's no guarantee of that. But going back to that, so what difference do you think it would make for you if we sold it in 7 years versus not selling it?
For me, it's the type of personality that I have to know, regardless if my hands are in it or not, to know that there's something in the universe, a mortgage in the universe sitting out there with my name still on it alone, and putting the trust in somebody else to make sure these payments are made. Now, I get it. There's going to be things in place that says, hey, if we renege on our contract, here, you can take the property back with everything that we've done to it all, now it's, value, I get that point of it. But obviously, a lot can happen, like you said, in 5-10 years. And I worry about something, again, sitting out there, 10 years from now with my name on this loan.
Yeah, totally.
Companies change, merge, sell each, you know what I'm saying?
Don't try and shut down every single thing that somebody says. When they have fears, the best thing to do is just address the fears directly and see if you can't come to a reason why either it may not be as big of a deal as they thought, or what can happen as a result might actually be helpful for them. Yeah, totally fair. So most of those scenarios that you brought up, like, you know, companies change or whatever, like the property would just get sold, right? That's the reality of it. But I'll tell you a couple things with that. So first of all, totally fair. Like, I get what you're saying about, you know, 5 years from now, do you still want it to be there just for your peace of mind? What I would tell you is, you know, on a loan like this, so when we buy this, we're going to furnish it, right? Which will cost a good amount of money. And then of course we pay the mortgage every month. So at the 7-year mark, here's the two scenarios. Let's say 7 years from now, something happens and the payment gets missed and you get the house back. You would be inheriting probably in 7 years, at least a couple $100,000 for free.
Right.
So that's a cool little benefit, right? Now, the flip side to that, which is why we don't put balloons on these, is let's say 7 years from now, hypothetically, of course, but 7 years from now, this property is worth only $200,000, right? So if we put something in the contract that says we have to sell this property in 7 years, and we get to that point and something's changed that, you know, we can't control, well, now we're being forced to sell a property that's worth significantly less than what's owed. And so now we're in a situation where it may get foreclosed on or, you know, go into a default. And so we don't put those in a contract to protect you guys, because if we were forced to do that in a bad situation, that's going to be much worse than just keeping it how it is. All right, so this is one of my most important points that I bring up when discussing a balloon with people. It's so important for them to understand that I'm not just bringing this stuff up because it's what's best for us, what's best for me. I want to make sure that I'm talking about what's best for them. And when it comes to a balloon, especially a short period balloon, that could potentially put you in a really bad spot if the market were to go down or things were to happen. And so I always bring that up to make sure they understand, hey, look, we're looking out for you guys just as much as we're looking out for us. Here's what could happen, and we don't want that to happen. So that's why we're going to avoid this.
Right. And so what if the interest rates drop in 2 years?
Then we'll
do you refinance? Do you ask us to refinance? Or
No. Yeah, you have no involvement. If the interest rates drop in 1 year, we'll refinance 100%. But yeah, I mean, that's just not, you know, not predictable. But yeah, for sure. I mean, if they go down to 3% or even 4%, absolutely.
Since the loan itself would still be in our name, do you come to us and be like, hey, you know, these interest rates have significantly dropped. I need you to go to the bank and see if you can refinance, or do you guys take it? Like, what happens then? Like,
no. You guys have sold the property. You have no involvement. If we refinanced, it would be us refinancing with a new loan. You would never have to hear from us unless you wanted to.
I guess I'm confused. Okay, so, and please forgive me. I'm just trying to understand the
Please ask as many questions as you have. Absolutely.
Yeah, so if the loan is still in Anthony and in my name, are we telling the bank where, even though it's in our name, you guys run the show with everything, and we give you the authority to make any decisions on the loan? Is that what's happening?
No. So let's say your hypothetical scenario, 2 years from now, the interest rates drop. We just go to the bank and get a new loan. So you guys would never have involvement.
You switch the property under your name by then?
The property will be under our name now when we buy it. We'll own the property. It's a regular sale.
I know, but like you say, when you refinance, if interest rates drop and you refinance, would you take their name off?
Yeah, anytime you get a loan, you have to pay off a previous loan, right? So if we got a new loan, then that loan would be paid off in the process. All right, so there you have it. There was no balloon on this deal by the time we got done with it. And you got to see an actual live call right there about how I was able to overcome that objection. So now I want to talk about what I was doing in that clip, what I was doing, what I was saying, what I was thinking, and how I've been able to overcome balloons not only on that deal, but on every single deal that we've done this year. So real quick, what is a balloon, right? A balloon, when you're talking about a balloon payment, a balloon is something where at the end of X amount of time, you have to pay the remaining sum of a contract, right? So for example, in a seller finance deal where there is no bank and somebody is you're making payments on somebody else's equity on a deal, they're typically going to ask for a balloon, and it's a little bit more fair in those situations because, for example, let's say we have a $500,000 house and we only pay them $50,000 down. They have $450,000 in equity. If we're paying that over 30 years, then they're not going to get all their money for 30 years. For some people that might work, but usually we're working with older people. Say, for example, somebody that's 70 years old. They don't want you to be making payments until they're 100. They want to get that money quicker. A little bit more valid in a seller finance situation. So I'm not going to be talking about that today. You can absolutely push those balloons off as well. But what I'm going to be talking about is subject to deals where we're just taking over the existing mortgage. Balloons in a subject to deal are a completely different topic because they have nothing to do with getting their money paid out. They don't have any money, right? This is just something that's being paid out to the bank. And so for them, a balloon represents kind of a sense of security. People want to know, hey, when can I get this mortgage out of my name? I don't like the idea of having it in my name. They'll say, let's do a 1-year balloon, which we laugh at. But I understand why they're doing it. And so instead, like you saw, instead of me just laughing at it and saying, oh no, absolutely not, I'm going to give them reasons, right? And that's how I approach everything that I do, is I give reasons behind why I'm saying no or why I can't do it, so that instead of them just thinking I'm some stuck-up kid, they actually understand what I'm talking about and we can have an actual conversation about what's going on. So why do we not do balloons? Because balloons are going to put us in a situation where Lord knows what's going to be going on 5 years from now, right, in the real estate market. Maybe every single house is worth half price. And for us, we want to be able to rely on the fact that even if housing prices completely crash, we're going to be able to get creative and figure out a way to make the property cash flow or support the payments for the property through our other businesses, right? That's our goal. And so when we're working, we don't want to put ourselves in a bind where in our contract it says, hey, no matter what, Ryan has to sell this property 5 years from now. Or actually, no, I don't have to sell it. I have to pay off that mortgage 5 years from now. Now, that could have a huge negative effect on me and actually the seller, which I'm going to talk about, and no benefit. Why is there no benefit? Well, let's talk about all the different components that go with taking over a mortgage. So first of all, their name is on the mortgage. People hate that. They're not really sure why they hate it, so we usually dig a little bit deeper and talk about it. And the first reason that they may hate it is because they want to go buy another house, right? Maybe you were thinking that. If this is the first video you've watched, you're like, how is somebody supposed to buy another house if you take over their mortgage? There's a whole lot that can go into that, but what I can tell you specifically when we're talking about balloons is that if they want to go buy another house, there's a couple different things we can do, and we use lenders, right? I'm not a lender, so I'm not the one that's specifically handling this stuff. We bring in the experts, who not how, and they solve the problem for them, which in some cases means doing a purchase where they can go buy another house immediately. A lot of people can buy another house either way because they have enough income. Their debt to income ratio is low enough, which means debt to income is how much debt you owe each month versus how much you make, right? That's one of the main things that lenders look at to be able to give you a house, give you a mortgage. So there's different reasons that may be able to get done, but regardless of those things, after 1 year, we're going to be able to cancel out the debt on this house with the income because they're not responsible for it anymore, right? We're responsible, we're paying for it. And so after a year of proof that they're not responsible, they can say, hey, mortgage company, hey, lender, whatever, look, I'm not making those payments, so that shouldn't count on my debt, and it gets canceled out, right? So that's what happens after a year. And so my argument when I'm on the phone with these guys is, hey, for example, if somebody says, I want a 3-year balloon or a 5-year balloon, my question that you heard me ask is, well, what's going to change after a year? What's going to change after 2 years, 3 years? Why are you picking 5 years, right? Because the reality is in most situations, they're just picking that number. They're like, I don't know, 5 years from now, I just want this to be over with, right? What they don't understand is that they're already going to have forgotten about the deal 5 years from now anyway, but it's not going to have any negative effects on them because they're going to be able to go buy another house regardless. So they don't need that balloon, right? That's not doing anything for them. And that's why I always dig deeper. I say, okay, you want a 5-year balloon? Instead of just saying, no, I will not give you this balloon. I'm like, okay, you want a 5-year balloon? Tell me why. Talk to me about it. What's going on? What are you thinking? In this case, they say, well, we'd really love to be able to go buy another house. And I'm like, 100%. I'd want to go buy another house too. Totally understand. Let me talk to you about the process of buying another house while having a mortgage taken over subject to. Now I've bypassed kind of that smoke screen and gotten down to the actual issue, right? And that's what I do on the phone. I say, hey, look, we're going to move past this, figure out the problem. In this case, they said, well, we just want to buy another house. And so then I can say, cool. Let me explain to you the process of how after a year, you can go buy another house from the subject to standpoint, it doesn't mean they're going to be able to qualify, right? If they don't have a job or, whatever else, I can't control that. But we are not going to be the reason they can't get a house, right? That's all my goal is. I don't want to be the reason that they're not going to be able to do whatever it is that they want to do. And so essentially I say, you actually, basically from what you just told me, are getting a 1-year balloon. Because if you're saying you wanted a 5-year balloon so you can go buy another house, I'm saying you can go buy another house in a year. Way better, right? But why do we not want to put the balloon on the contract? Well, how I explain it is, instead of explaining it as the benefit to me, I want to explain it as the negative to them. And that's exactly what I do. When I talk about it, I say, hey, look, let's say that the housing market gets cut in half 5 years from now. And you have in your contract that we owe you the entire amount of this mortgage 5 years from now. Well, what happens 5 years from now when the house is worth $300,000 less than we paid for it, and now you're forcing us to pay it out? What's going to happen? We're not going to be able to do it. We're not going to be able to pull it off, and so the house is either going to go into foreclosure or something else is going to happen. Their credit's going to get dinged. It's going to be a whole mess. And so I say, look, you don't want to put us in that situation where we're being forced to do that. You don't want to do that, because that's going to have a huge negative impact on you if something goes wrong. All downside and no upside, because when we pay that mortgage off, nothing's going to change for them. They're not going to be able to go buy another house because it's already been canceled off of their debt to income ratio. So no benefit to them by having that balloon, and potentially huge negative downside. And that's really what I'm pushing for them is, hey, look, we're not doing this for us. We're doing this for you. Like, that's the whole point of this. Now, if they push back that and have an actual good reason, the only real reason that I've come across for somebody to have a balloon on a subject to deal is if it's a VA loan. Without getting too in depth on it, VA loans do have a set amount of entitlement that you can use. And if we keep a VA loan, then we are using up some of that person's entitlement. So if they do request a balloon, I just want to throw it in there. If you have to have a balloon on a deal, you want to put a contingency in place to protect against what I just talked about, which is the house value plummeting, things going way down. So what we do is we put some sort of a contingency in there. Again, I'm not the paperwork guy, but we have our team, our transaction coordinators, put something into the contracts that say, hey, look, as long as this property appraises for what we bought it for, or usually we say about 20 to 25% above what we bought it for, we'll balloon you out, right? Because if you really need it for whatever reason, and it better be a good reason, or else we're not going to do it. But if you have a good reason, then we'll balloon you out as long as the property appraises. And what that does is it protects us in case it doesn't. Usually it'll say something like, if it doesn't appraise, we'll extend the balloon another year, another 5 years until it does. And that says, look, we'll work on trying to get you paid out, but we're not going to do it if it's going to put us and you in a terrible position, because nobody wants that, right? Nobody wants that, so we're not going to do it. So that's the goal of the balloon payment. The reason that most people ask for it is just because of a lack of understanding, which is true for most things, right? They don't understand what the frick's going on. They're trying to understand how they can get out of this thing and not have to worry about it anymore, not have the stress about it. And then they talk to somebody that's worked with us that says, oh yeah, we sold our house subject to a year ago and I forgot about it because it's just getting serviced. Payments are automatic. It's no big deal. And that's really how that works. It's very simple. So what we have to do is utilize our experience and the things that I just talked about to actually explain to them and dig under that deeper level. So if you have been struggling with people bringing up balloon payments or people bringing you deals with balloon payments, offer to help them out. Offer to get those things done. If you need help, we're happy to help you, because like I said, there's a phone call where I just did it. We do it all the time. Happy to help you guys out. You can JV with us with the links in the description. But if you're trying to do it for yourself, just dig deeper, right? You want X number of balloon, X years for a balloon. Why? Just tell me why. Tell me why you want the balloon so that I can understand. And then you can reassess, right? You don't even have to know right then. You can say, cool, let me go talk to my partner, hang up the phone, and go figure it out. But if they say something along the lines of, I want to go buy another house, or I just want to get this, whatever, then try and combat those things with experiences, factual information that you can bring up to try and actually be helpful to them, so that you're not just saying, I don't want to do it, right? Give them a reason why they don't need to do it, or a reason why maybe they actually do need to do it. I don't know. Like I said, there is some good reasons that people bring up. But oftentimes they'll say, I just want the peace of mind. And I'm like, so you're telling me that you'll be able to deal with this for 5 years, but then all of a sudden, like, you can't survive the peace of mind without getting a balloon? Come on, we got to have a better reason than that, right? We got to have a better reason to put all of us in a potentially bad situation just because you think 5 years from now you'd rather just not know that it existed. Like, by that time, with everybody we've worked with, you're already going to have forgotten that that mortgage is still in your name in the first place, right? It's being serviced. It's not a big deal. So when it comes to balloon payments, I wanted to make this video so that you guys could see an actual example of me breaking down a balloon, getting rid of it like we have on every single subject to deal that we've done. So I hope this video was helpful talking about balloons. If you guys are struggling with this, leave me a comment if you have any other questions about overcoming balloon payments. We don't want you to get stuck on these. It makes the deal way less favorable if you're wholesaling, and if you're buying it, you don't want to put yourself in that position years down the road. So let's just avoid it completely, get rid of the balloons on subject to deals, overcome that objection, move to the next one because there's plenty of other ones. And this video was overcoming objections on balloons. I hope it was helpful, and until next time.